Before we go this week, we have time for one more topic. By now, voters in Bernalillo County have likely received their mail-in ballot for Albuquerque Public Schools special election. Likely, maybe you haven't. We'll see what happens. There are 3 items on the ballot, all of them geared toward maintenance and construction of APS buildings, as well as instructional equipment and technology. The first measure would not increase anyone's property taxes, but the second 2 would, by roughly $147 a year for a $220,000 home, for example. Tom, let me start with you. As you have been intimately involved in mill levy stuff in the past and issues of the past, it's always a tough one, getting the public to sort of see this. What's the fundamental problem here? And it is APS on good grounds going into this vote with this new mail-in scheme they've got going?
Well, the mail-in program really is, that's going to be the vehicle that APS is going to be using for this particular election instead of everybody going to the ballot box on one day. The big challenge that APS has, and I've talked with one of the board members with APS about this as well, is communication and lack thereof. When the school board
Which direction?
Very poor communication.
Okay.
Yeah, because when the school board voted to do 2 things, one is that they voted to maintain the current mill levels of the current funding that supports the facilities master plan. They also decided that they had a crisis to the tune of $700 million of projects that needed to be funded. And they didn't say that we have these issues that are on the horizon, with the exception of the need for public safety. They've been very public about that. But all the other issues, they're kind of bifurcated. Some of them are represented in the maintaining the existing tax. Others are a part of this, this tax increase. So, I think that from a communications perspective, they've not been as responsible as they probably should have been in communicating what these needs really are. And then, on the heels of, 3 other tax increases, you have Bernalillo County has increased taxes twice. City of Albuquerque has increased taxes once. And now a 4th tax increase. They really needed to come at this with all guns and blazing. No, it's a horrible use of a pun, but they really have failed in that particular case.
That's a fair point. When you're talking sticker shock that big, you have to set up the public for that shock, so to speak, and make a good case for it.
They do, and they totally have dropped the ball on it. So I don't know what's going to happen. Right now, the Albuquerque Journal did not endorse 2 of the 3 questions. So we'll have to wait and see.
Interesting point there. Kathy, I mentioned the mail-in ballot scheme. I'm curious if you think, or you guys too, if it favors one side or the other. The no votes versus the yes votes, or am I off there? It's a hard thing to tell, but do you have a sense of that?
I mean, it is a hard thing to tell. Like, people don't vote in presidential elections, and certainly they don't vote in mill levy elections. And the mail-in, I think was their sort of workaround for that. And I don't think it favors either one, but somebody's got to get out in front who wants to see it happen, to make it happen. And I think the onus was on APS to make their case, and they've, as Tom said, done a pretty poor job of making the case, and so there's a very good chance that it won't pass. I mean, I will say from a personal standpoint that the buildings are falling down, they're leaking, it's the environment in which our kids are learning, but I do agree that if they have 34 projects, that they needed to prioritize those and tell us, we have to have these. So, please, weigh in on this, vote, make sure that it does pass so that we can at least continue to maintain our properties.
I should mention that in case anyone in the audience is looking to catch up with this, we do have the forum on our website. You can go catch up and backtrack and watch that whole thing. And that's, in essence, where they rolled out the whole plan, and it should have come probably a lot earlier, but there it is. Laura, staying on this mail-in ballot scheme, I'm curious if it works. Other districts might look at this and go, you know what, maybe this is the way to go here. And there's a lot of folks who feel like mail-in balloting and voting is the future anyway, that we should all be getting used to this avenue of voting. Do you have a sense of that as well for this?
Well, I certainly don't want to call it a scheme.
Right. It's a tricky word there, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I'm glad to hear that people are finally starting to call it mail-in instead of all mail. Some of the news reports and some folks I've heard call it all mail, which sort of suggests, if you don't see it in writing, that it's men only voting, which I also don't like the term all mail. But it's it is. I think it's a valid use of funds to use a mail-in approach, because you're not spending money, resources on having people actually be at the polls, having to do ballot on demand, which is I think something that's been instituted recently and fairly recently in elections here in New Mexico. And it's very expensive to do that, although it's more efficient if you're able to let people go to any polling location. So in
Do
that
we know what the
sense,
take rate is versus walking into voting? Do people tend to vote more with a mail-in, ease of the mail-in vote? I mean,
well, there's some people who always vote absentee.
Yeah.
I mean, that's typically what
Right.
it is absentee. But there's still, I think, a significant a population that still likes to go in and exercise their right to vote on election day.
Right.
Because even early voting, you're seeing increased numbers in early
Right.
vote, but there's still, the huge numbers are really election day. And so you can kind of see how, for people who follow elections, you can see how things trend early on based on that turnout from absentee and early, but the bulk of it is still on election day.
Right.
And you may still see people who don't even send back their ballot until election day. And so
Right.
you're still going to have to wait until they're all come back.
Yeah.
So that'll be something that I think we'll have to wait and see. But as far as how elections go, I mean, I think my experience has been that there's a range of options, and more and more, especially with a newer generation that's more familiar, more used to doing things online on their phone.
Right.
I'm surprised that we haven't gotten to the point where we're able to do things electronically.
That's right.
I was involved in Arizona in 2000 in the Gore campaign when the state party in Arizona, Democratic Party, I should say, not the state party. The Democratic Party in Arizona had the first ever electronic primary. That was in 2000.
Wow.
And it was when Al Gore was running against Bill Bradley for the primary there. And it was revolutionary. And that was, 19 years ago. It's
Sure.
shocking. But
It's amazing we can't do it on our phones. It couldn't be
Right.
any less secure than how we do it now. So we'll see
you would
what
think,
happens.
but yeah.
Zach, interestingly, Kathy's bringing up the idea of the state of our schools, the infrastructure, stuff like that. That's a part of learning, and I'm wondering if APS loses this vote, what happens with the Yazzie Martinez case situation?
Yeah, we
Do you
don't
know what I mean?
know.
Does that add to the problems?
I think it does. I think it might look for additional funding in that case. It might take a bigger bite out of the budget than we expected. But it could lead towards a bigger conversation about why we're in this mess to begin with.
Right.
What went wrong to the point where we have to be building out and needing to do a vote like this.
That's
But
right.
to build on some points that
Please.
were made for the technology aspect of this, we can do blockchain technology voting that's coming out in the next 3 or 5 years once it gets more secure. Eventually, I truly believe we will be able to be voting from our phones or something like that, even though I'm naturally suspicious of that. I prefer to go in person myself.
Yep.
But
the same.
I think we got to catch up with the times.
There you
So-
go. We'll see what happens with this vote. Interesting. That's all the time we have this week. Let us know what you think about any of the topics we covered here. Heading to NewMexicoInFocus.org to do that. Or, even better, join our killer new Facebook group, Focus on New Mexico.